And we are live on the United Public Radio Network, UPRN 107.7 FM New Orleans and 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast. How cool is that? And a big shout out to Joe M. and Michelle DeRoche for making that happen and picking up my show. God bless them for that. Uh, to all those above me that watch over me, to all of you, my fave parapeeps, this is Father Shawn's Paranormal Ministry. I'm your host, Father Shawn Whittington. I'm an ordained Catholic priest with the United States Old Catholic Church. I'm a fully professed brother with the Old Catholic Benedictines of Immaculate Mary, a team member with Society of St. Benedict, and co-founder of GhostBegone.biz. If there's anything you want to know about my wife and I and our ministry work, go to our website, www.ghost-b-gone.biz. And if you go there to visit, there's a lot of cool things to see. Both my books are there, God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry, and God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry 2. The books are less expensive at Amazon, and they also come in a wonderful audio version. But if you buy them off the website, they leave my office here. I autograph them, and they come enclosed in a beautiful house blessing kit, which may come in handy. But the other cool thing about that is part of the proceeds from every sale of every copy of my books off of the website goes to support stjude.org and the ASPCA. How cool is that? Get to help some of the neediest children on the planet and the animals too. Two very wonderful causes that I've been involved with for many, many years now. What else is there? My online course is there. Introduction to Spiritual Warfare. It's the type of course for all you true warriors for Christ that want to learn how to draw your line in the sand, make a stand, put up the fight of your life, God forbid, if true evil ever comes calling. That's the course for you. You can enroll there at the website, or if you want more information on the course before making that type of commitment, you can reach out to me and we'll talk about it. What else is there? There's a place where you can make an appointment to speak with me about your spiritual issues. Not paranormal, but spiritual. And last but not least, remember, guys, my wife and I, we do not charge for our ministry work helping people with their paranormal issues. So trust me, I know times are tough. But if you notice the donate button and you're able to do so, click on it and send my ministry in a small donation. I promise you it'll be appreciated from the bottom of our hearts. And trust me, we'll put it to good use. And yes, I'm that guy on Eli Roth Presents the Legion of Exorcists on Travel Channel, currently streaming everywhere. And so many of you are still discovering the show out there in streaming land. And you reach out to me with such wonderful comments and support of the show. That means a lot to me. So God bless you for that. We have a great show today. Great guest. She's in the green room. I know that you all already knew that. That's why you tuned in. So I'm going to bring her out here very shortly. But first, another cool thing about my Friday show is I have a great, awesome co-host. You all know her. You all love her. I've known her for a long time. I respect her and love her. She's a friend. She's the owner of Stellium Books, a lifelong paranormal experiencer, and an authority in her own right on all that weird stuff. She's the owner of Stellium Books. She's my publisher. Let's please give a big, warm Paranormal Ministry family welcome to the one and only Annette Munich.
Well, hi, Father Shawn. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here and just really touched by the really nice introduction. That's very sweet. I always appreciate that.
I got your bracelet on.
Yeah.
I didn't know if we were going to do another bracelet giveaway. I do plan on, to let everybody know, I've got 2 boxes of blessed frankincense incense. So I'm going to give them away every week until they're all gone. You get 10 blessed incense cones in each little box per winner. And I guess we're having the people attending here live and even later after the show for those that watch the archive off of the YouTube channel. Just type in your name and
all they have to do is type in incense and And then around midnight, I go and collect the names of everybody that entered just because, people that, have to work or whatever and they can't catch us live, we'll just let them comment if they watch the show later and just type incense. And then we'll announce the winner. And I'll put the winner on that show page as well. We have a winner for last week that I didn't get. You didn't see it or contact us. I'm sorry. Travis Davidson.
Oh, okay. I know Travis. You need his address for what, incense or bracelet?
Um, for the incense.
Okay. Yeah, or did I? Are you sure I haven't already sent Travis's? I'll check my notes too, but either way, you and I will hook up later, and if we didn't send it to him yet, I will send Travis his incense. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Hi, Roberta. Karen's in the chat room. That's wonderful. Hi,
Very
so we
cool.
got people pouring in. So if anybody wants incense today, there we go. Infinite Joy type incense. So, and Roberta, she won last week. She's my
Oh,
friend.
very cool. Yeah, I
Roberta.
think that's who I just sent some incense out to. Well, this is the bracelets that one of many kinds that Annette is making. If you're interested in a bracelet, you can reach out to her.
Those
And
bracelets too are very special because the stones are from Apparition Hill at Medjugorje, and
yeah,
they're
I can
blessed
feel.
there before they're blessed there at the local church before they're sent out. So those are very special. And we got Michelle here, and Michelle is also entering for the incense, so that's lovely.
Yay.
Yay.
Well, are you ready? Do you have any other announcements you'd like to make before I bring our very special guest out?
I don't think I do.
Okay. Well, like I said, you all tuned in for my guest. You all know her. You all love her. She's been, as far back as I can remember, I've known her being around and so involved in this thing that we call the paranormal field. Um, she wears many hats. She's a spiritologist, a Ouijaologist. She's the director of the Talking Board Historical Society. She's a very gifted channel. You've seen her on all the major podcasts, TV, radio, film personality. Please give a big warm welcome to the one and only Karen A. Dahlman.
Hi, Karen. Welcome.
Thank you,
So happy
Annette.
to have you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shawn. It's a pleasure and honor to be here with you guys
It's,
today.
it's been a while, and we were talking about that in the
Yep.
green room. I can't believe it's probably been at least 3 years since I had you on the show. Shame on me, because I
Yes.
love you, and I don't know why I would wait so long. Life happens, and that won't happen
Mhm.
again. After tonight, I'll look at my schedule, throw some dates at you, and get you back here. Probably around spring of
Great.
next year if you're available. And I also know your schedule. You're one of the busiest
Hmm.
people on the planet, so it's hard
Hmm.
to nail you down to an open date. But we'll work on not waiting another 3 years, okay?
Sounds great to me. Perfect.
My only rule today is I want you to have fun because I'm going to want you to come back. And now I'm going to let Annette have at you because every week
Oh,
I promise to give her more time with the guests, and I rudely always forget that promise and end up hogging the show. So you two
It's
gals chat.
yeah.
it's just a joke because you know what? As long as the show is interesting for our listeners, that's what it's all about, and they love hearing from you. He has really fascinating stories, and he's very funny, and just a really nice personality. You really do. I'm Robin to your Batman. I'm not meant to have the whole show anyway, so uh, I'm the sidekick or something. But what I wanted to do with Karen is kind of start at the beginning and ask about the history and also about
Mhm.
the society and how it was founded and where it is, where people could find information about it.
Well, thank you very much for asking. So, the Talking Board Historical Society can be found at TBHS, Talking Board Historical Society.org. Now, how it started was it was a group of collectors that they were frenemies, friends slash enemies. They were competing with each other to gather and collect their boards. This goes back to like the 80s and 90s. They're collecting boards and they're competing. Well, they decided to get together and create this group. But my cat's here to say hello, everybody. This is Phoebe. She
Aw,
likes to sit
Phoebe.
behind me. And my cats do come in when I do interviews. They love the energy when we talk about spiritual type things. She loves it. And so does Bear. You never know. They usually all come in. So anyway, so this group started because they were into collecting boards and really learning about the history of them. So a bunch of these gentlemen got together, and there was a few women involved in the beginning too. And then they shared their collections. They started doing the research. They became historians. Some of them were historians already. A lot of them are artists. They come from all walks of life, but they all share one passion, which happens to be the Ouija board, the talking board, the spirit board. So I came into this group and gosh, it's been about 8 years now when I was brought in. And the group started loosely in about 2008 or 9 when they put in the gravestone for Elijah Bond. Now, you'll see that famous Ouija board gravestone, and that's because Elijah Bond was buried. He's the patent attorney for the Ouija board back in the 1890s. He didn't have a gravestone. So these guys and gals got together and funded it with the help of a lot of people and put this gravestone in. And that was the beginning of the formation of this group, the Talking Board Historical Society. Since then, we've done a lot of other things, such as providing a gravestone for Miss Helen Peters, who happens to be the mother of Ouija. She was one of the original women that helped found the board along with a group of businessmen. It was a business situation back in the 1890s. And one of the collectors actually has her original board, which before was even patented and trademarked in 1891 as Ouija. So Ouija boards go back to about 1880, mid 1886. Around that time, we find it in historical records. There was also a great craze that was sweeping America, and it started in Ohio. And it was the spiritualist movement that all of a sudden were starting to create devices that look like this. This is a real Ouija. But they were starting to take cutting boards, their tabletops, and putting letters, the alphabet on it, and numbers. And they found devices that they could use, move around, whether it was pencils or apertures or something that could move across the board. And they were starting to get messages. And around 1886, a novelty toy company sent one of their boards called the Witch Board, W-I-T-C-H, Witch Board, to President Grover Cleveland for his wedding gift. And how we know this is because they took the letter they sent him and they sent it over to one of the trade journals, and they published it in their paper. And then when President Grover Cleveland responded to this witch board, he sent a letter back. And he told them how appreciative he was of their ingenuity and of the gift, but he hardly thought he would consult with it for matters of the future or matters of the government. And so that also went viral because they took that letter and also put it in a journal. So that's kind of the loose beginning of when you start seeing spirit boards in America. They started in America, but they were actually patented and trademarked as Ouija board in 1890-91. Now, my oldest board as a collector is an 1892 board. I have 2 of those. And I have, like I said, I have collector friends who have the ones that predate even Ouija. So let me ask you both a question. And this is going to be a little quiz. And Shawn, you should know the answer. I think we discussed this before. What's the difference? What's the difference between a Ouija board, spirit board, and talking board?
Do you want to go first? Women
I
first?
don't know. I just called them all like it was the same thing, talking board, Ouija board. I just kind of use those as, 2 words for the same thing.
Okay.
And so many people do, like I have 2, I'm going to call them spirit boards here.
Okay.
Because I don't know why I just always refer to them as spirit boards, unless it is an actual Ouija board. But I've got 2
That's
here
it.
that
Bingo.
actually.
That's it. That's the answer. Ouija
So
is a
spirit
patent
boards
and trade.
are the same?
It's a patented trademark name.
Well, what about, so you would still consider a spirit board and a talking board the same, but they're not Ouija?
Correct. But not
Okay.
all boards are Ouija boards. Is that's the name that survived all these years. It's the number one board, talking board that everybody knows about. So people just, like Annette said, you just tend to call everything a Ouija board, but technically, truly, Ouija is a patent and trademark name now owned by Hasbro. So you could use the umbrella term would be talking board or spirit board.
I have an interesting quick story for you. I'll try not to bore you guys. Um, I was traveling around in my travels out and about, and I stumbled upon this little spiritual shop, kind of hidden away, not on the not right out in the open where people would just know it was there and see it as they drove by. So I thought that was interesting, and I like to go into these shops because
Mhm.
sometimes I'll confess I'll find some beautiful crucifixes in there that I feel I need to save, and I'll take and bless and bring home. But I find all sorts of interesting stuff in there, and there was something behind the counter in a little case, and I asked, and it was the only thing that didn't have a price tag on it. And I asked the woman, uh, what is that? And are you selling that? I didn't see a price tag. She said, well, I'll show it to you, but it's not for sale. It's an heirloom and it's very, very old and it's of antiquity. So I'm not going to share it with you, but I'll show you what it is. She opened up this little case and inside were small cards. Some of them were cards that had letters on them. Some were just
Mhm.
the actual cutout letter itself, and like a little, it looked like a very lightweight shot glass, for lack of a better description. And she said uh, it's a kit to talk to spirit.
Mhm.
And she described how you lay these in any way you want to lay them out on a table, preferably like a wooden table with a very smooth
Mhm.
finish. And you'd put these letters around. And she said there's also, like the spirit boards you're used to seeing, there's extra letters to make goodbye and yes and no, but you lay these alphabet letters out and you put the glass in the middle and everybody puts one or two fingers gently on there. There's not enough room to have a dozen people, so you probably three or four people, and you put your fingers on this glass and you have these seance sessions. She just called it a seance session. So I instantly thought to myself, well, I wondered where it went from. If that was antiquity, what actually went from that? It was brilliant for the person to think of the Ouija board or a talking board, because now you can sell those, you can market them, you can carry them around instead of having this little case and hoping if the medium or the spiritualist went to a place to conduct a seance, they would have to hope there was a table there or carry your own table with you if you had a portable, you know, uh, I don't know, but do you know the actual how it graduated from that to the board?
Yeah, and by the way, that comes out of the spiritualist movement using alphabet cards, and they would take pencils or a finger and point to them or an indicator like a glass. And the glass, they actually call it in the UK using the glass, and they use a glass and it goes by the letters. And so that's where it started. People were in the spiritualist movement were developing all kinds of tools they could use to begin having these communications. So
Yeah,
that does come out of like the
she
1880s.
commented that some people put the words closer together and they'll gently
Yep.
put a clear piece of glass over the top, and then
Yep.
sometimes the shot glass on this window pane would go over the letter and then they could
That's
see.
right. And
I,
that's where it started. So what happened, and I call this the marriage of spiritism and spiritualism. So in the 1880s in the United States, the spiritualist movement is really going gangbusters. It's moving, it's going forward. At the same time, in France, which is where spiritism developed, they were beginning to use something called an automatic writer. So it was called planchette, which means little table in French. And you put your hand on it, it looks like an indicator for the Ouija board with a little hole apparatus for a pencil to be in it. And it goes like this. You put your hand on it and it starts writing. So there was two
Yeah.
businessmen who went to France to be a part of the spiritualist. I don't know. They wanted to be a part of the seance with spiritism. They saw them use these planchettes and they brought them back, and they were sold in stationery stores in the 1880s, somewhere in that range, actually a little earlier in that 1870s. And that was sold that was a predecessor to the Ouija board. So people started seeing, oh, you can pair this device that moves with these alphabet cards and letters. And maybe, like you said, Father Shawn, you could put them on a board. And so you start seeing how these different ideas come together. It was really quite amazing and revolutionary.
We'll next, or I'll let Annette have at you again, but we'll
Do you,
before
do
we
you
leave
know that
today,
if you
I'll
saw the answer, I mean, if you saw the question by Michelle, if you know the origin of the word Ouija?
I
Or
do.
Ouija? Okay.
I do. Yeah. There's a story about this, and it's all written down. It comes from antiquity as well. So the founders of the board, they were several of them were sitting down together, and they were using the board. They didn't have a name for it yet. This is 1890. And so, if you can see back here, that's a 1950s board. My 1892 board is actually somewhere else. Didn't bring it to this. I should have brought it to show you. So board that looked big like that board, but out of wood, no name on it. They were using it. It was Helen Peters. It was Elijah Bond. And his was it his sister-in-law? And then Charles Kennard. They're all sitting down using this a tool, this device. And they said, what should we call you? And it's spelled out Ouija. And they said, well, what does that mean? And they looked at Miss Helen Peters because she was using the planchette or the indicator. And they said, were you thinking about anything? And she said, no, I wasn't. But she pulled from her neck, her neck, a locket, opened it up. And inside there, it had the letters Ouida or Ouija. They're not sure because there was a very famous feminist writer who went by the pseudonym of Ouida, Ouida. That was a popular name. So this Miss Helen Peters was a gifted psychic. She was avant-garde. She very well could have had a locket with her famous person inside of it named Ouida, who was a feminist writer. We're not sure and we're not clear on that. But however, that's where the name developed. It developed out of a session. They said, what does this mean? And the board spelled out good luck. So they decided to name it the Ouija board or Egyptian good luck board. And that's the name that went to the patent office and actually was patented and trademarked.
Very cool.
Yeah, that is very cool. I know before the show's over, if we have time, I'm probably going to ask you the pros and cons in your humble opinion of this. But I can't tell you how many truly gifted, and I can count them on both hands, truly gifted psychic mediums that didn't start out that way. They started out getting channeling, but it was just, they couldn't make any sense of it. And they started talking to more and more experts in the field, and they realized you have a gift, you just don't know how to use it yet. And many of them honed their craft by starting first with a type of a spirit board, talking board, or Ouija board. And then eventually they got so good they graduated on. Maybe there might have been a little tarot thrown in there too, but eventually they graduated on to just being able to channel without using anything. Let's talk about what I just said, and then let's talk about the pros and cons, proper usage. I'm the first to admit I had a very bad experience with one, and I know it's because I didn't know what I was doing. My wife didn't know what she was doing. We shouldn't have been playing with it, especially on this particular type of case we were working. And this is many, many years ago. So I don't use them anymore. And if somebody asks me their opinion, I always tell them, be careful. I don't use them. If you're going to, just be careful. Because I have so many friends that love them and use them. I tell them the same thing, be careful. And I'm not going to tell people not to do something because it's all about free will. But I do have a lot of people that reach out to me when they hear my story about what happened to me, and they feel that either the same thing happened to them, or they want to use one and they fear something like that might happen, or they may be going through something right now and suspect that the talking board or Ouija board they have there on premise might be causing this. So what do you say to all that? I know I just dumped a bunch of stuff in your lap.
Yes, you did. Okay, let's go back to the first topic. That's okay. I was paying attention, and I kind of have it sorted in my mind. You did state some really important stuff here. Let's start with the people that actually started with the board and then graduate, as you mentioned, to maybe a trance mediumship or direct voice channeling. So somebody that many people here might know is Jane Roberts with the Seth material. She and her husband started with the Ouija board, and Seth's material is really the basics of the modern day New Age. You create your own manifestation, or you create your own world. It's the idea of creating your own reality. So she was a gifted poet, and her husband was an artist, and he brought home a Ouija board and said, let's try this to get ideas, let's use this. And they immediately got on there and it started working really well for them. And they met an entity named Seth. And Seth said, I've been in lives with you before, both of you. And our work, he called Jane Roberts Rupert. He said, Rupert, our work was not done. We're going to continue it. So they used it for about 3 months. And he says, now I want you to get off the board and just directly channel me. And then she became one of the most famous modern day trance medium channel. She would check out, still sit there and have full on conversations with people of such brilliant, insightful, just great information. So people are interested in that. You can read, it's called the Seth material. And there's many books out there. There's been famous people throughout the years. Bill Wilson, who created the tenets of the 12-step movement, 12-step program, created it on the Ouija board. That's where he got his information from. He was channeling, it was a monk named Boniface. And Boniface told him, yeah, we can, here's some ideas to use to help people heal. Another famous person was Betty White, not the Betty White that we know, but Betty White in the 1920s was also started with the Ouija board. And then she immediately went into trance mediumship, and her husband was Stuart White, a very famous man who ran with the likes of like Teddy Roosevelt. And he was a great writer. And as soon as Betty did transition to the afterlife, he wrote quite a few books based on their experiences. I can go on and on. Throughout history, there's been quite a few people who started with the Ouija board and then moved on from there. So that was the first thing you asked. And then I think what you asked next was some of the ways to work with this tool so you have a positive experience. Was that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Because you said yours wasn't so positive, and people write to me.
And then I'll even talk about some examples I may throw at you afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So, here's the thing. I say, use this tool as it is a tool. It's not a toy. It's not a plaything. And I mean, enjoy it. And I do have fun when I use the tool, but it's not jovial. It's not like a game. It's not like I'm going to imbibe in mind altering, mood altering substances. I really want to have my wits about me so I can be a clear channel. When you're using this tool, you are channeling. It's no different when I get off the board and I direct channel, because I've learned to do that because of the work I do on this board. I've learned to do direct channeling. And so I find that I have to keep my wits about me, keep a very clear space, be grounded and be centered. If you approach it as if it's a beautiful, beautiful thing you're doing, a beautiful way of bringing forth divine wisdom, source wisdom, divinely guided information, your higher self. And if you approach it that way, you set up the ambiance and the vibration to be met with that type of energy. So when I use this tool, and I've always been this way, even as a young child, I started at the age of 8, I just took it very seriously. And it wasn't a game for me. All my friends would think it was a game. And I was like, then I'm not going to use the board with you because I know we can do great things with this tool. And I wasn't kidding myself. So if you use it with respect and you respect yourself, you respect the energies you work with, you're going to find that that's the kind of energy you're going to get. So it does become a process of learning to fine tune yourself. The board is neutral. It's you and your energy that you bring to it. It's tuning yourself to the frequencies to be able to bring them through. The board is truly, I'm going to say it this way, my theatrics of what the channeling looks like with spelling the letters. But I would get similar messages, bringing it directly through. It just comes a lot quicker. And in fact, the guides that I work with, that I met through this board, when I'm using the tool, channeling this way, I met them in the 1990s, early 1990s. And they've taught me how since then to work with their energy the same way, but in a quicker way by direct channeling. So it's just 2 different ways of channeling, basically.
Oh, you know what?
Now, did I hit on all your topics?
I think she did a great job with hitting on everything that you were asking.
Good.
But it was, when we were younger, you found that with the games, it looked like it was just stacked next to Monopoly and everything else. And people bought it as, something to do to entertain themselves. And so I think that the way it was sold and marketed that way just kind of lent people to, I mean, no one took it really seriously. And a lot of people that got in trouble were just messing around. Nothing will really happen. Maybe, this is just going to be, goofing around, and then accuse each other of somebody's pushing it. And then something happens. But how do you know, just because it tells you that it's a name, or I'm this person, or say you're asking for a certain person, how do you know that that's who it really is? Because that's a lot of the danger, isn't it?
I think that is a great point.
Come through and you don't know for sure.
That's a great point. I always tell people, when you first start using this tool, and this could last for years, I say, don't trust the message. Just use it as entertainment. Use it seriously and get information. Write it down, record it, and after time, you look at things over time. You start to see the golden thread that weaves itself through the truth in it. So when you first start, it's not because, well, there are tricksters, but it's not just because you're attracting tricksters, because you're not, meaning myself, the operator of this tool, may not understand channeling, may not know how to clear myself to get higher vibration energies. It was a process for me. It started at a very young age. I wasn't even until I worked on the tool for 39 years that I started coming out in the public and talking about it. I was getting good messages probably within 15, 20 years, but messages that I really could count on it probably after 25 years, where I go, wow, that was the only time I met the guides, 22 years. I met the guides and I go, this is legit. But it took me time to get there. It took me time practicing and working on myself. I'm a psychotherapist. I did a lot of personal therapy, but I did a lot of work internally, but also on tapping into my greater self, my wiser self, my higher self, which I love that term, myself that's always exists, that will exist when this corporeal existence, disintegrates into the ground. It's that spark and spirit of myself. Learning to make that connection first, all of a sudden then allowed me to start connecting with these higher beings of different consciousness and source wisdom, where I can reach that energy and bring it through. But it didn't happen overnight. It took many years. 73, I started 1973. It was 1992. So that's 19 years. And 93, 94, when I really got it perfected, where the guides came in. And that is when I knew, by going back through all my messages I kept over time, to see the consistency and how they were accurate. And so it takes a while. So I tell people, don't expect that right away. Use the tool, be serious with it, enjoy the tool, but you got to learn to fine tune yourself. You're the operator. Learn to fine tune your operation of this tool. It's like learning to be a good tarot reader, or a good oracle reader, or a good medium. It's learning how to do that. And that takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And so just use this as entertainment in the beginning. Practice, practice, practice. I say there's 3 P's. Practice, patience, persistence. Perseverance, you can put in there too. If you do these things over time, write your messages down. Don't go, oh, I'm so excited. I talked to a spirit named John. Well, who knows? Let's just have fun and say, this is what happened. And let's just see as it builds, if that really is somebody that's worthwhile of communicating with. So it's a process. It's definitely a process. And it's a great question you ask. I think that's where people get stuck. They think everything they get on the board is, it's got to be real. Well, it's not. It's not.
Do you do anything for protection, or like an opening or a closing of a session, so that, say if you started and you don't close it somehow, and whatever came into your realm is now still there and didn't go back home?
I learned, I learned over the years to always have an opening and a closing. Just like here we are, we were in the green room in the beginning, having an opening, saying hello to each other, exchanging niceties and just, how things going. And now we're in the middle of the session and we're going to have a closing. We're going to say goodbye. It's showing respect for the space and the energies that are there. So we're all respecting each other here and we're going to close it. So I always work with my sessions the same way. And I still do. As a therapist, as a hypnotherapist, a past life therapist, and a regular psychotherapist, I would create a safe space for my clients to come into. There was always an opening, the work we did, and a way to close it, to put it back together so they can go about their day. So that is so important for any kind of ritualistic work. I know, Shawn, you know this. There's got to be a way to do that. And I always say get grounded too. That's part of my protection, is grounding myself. I always say an incantation of prayer. I do a circuitry exercise. There's a lot of things I developed over the years, or I could say the guide said, add this to your repertoire now. This is going to take you to another level. And yeah, I do that. And this is the coolest thing, you guys. I found that the practice of having like an opening and a grounding, have an opening and a middle and a closing on everything I do in life, whether it's going into a business meeting, going into these conversations we're having, talking or speaking at a workshop or presentation on stage, I find if I go about it with those items, following that kind of succinct succession of items or ritual, helps me to be more centered and clear when I'm speaking and bringing forth the message. And I found that's what happens with when I use this tool and I channel.
Well, it's like anything I tell people all the time. It's intent. I know even if you can channel without using a board, but you better be careful, because if your mind, your heart, and soul are in the wrong place,
right,
something's going to attach and take advantage of you. So intent and proper usage is very important. Let me ask you about these boards that already try to tell you right off the bat, okay, you get this board, this is what you're going to use it for, and good luck. And I think of me personally, you guys might not feel this way. I think the Jesus board is silly. But then I think the other board, it's named after a particular demon. I'm not going to say the demon's name. It was made famous on a very popular paranormal reality TV show, and then the board came out, and this board is to contact this particular demon so that this demon will, do your bidding, and it doesn't work out that way. Someone that knows that that's not going to happen. It's not going to do your bidding. So what do you think about boards like that?
Well, in my collection, I have about 85 boards, and they're all so different. My favorite are the Ouija boards, but there's a lot of boards that are just talking in spirit boards, which people have made me. They're homemade. They're in some look ominous and scary. Some are meant to be that way. Others are like angel boards, and you can talk to your angels or whatever. This is what I've learned. I can use any board. You give me that demon board. I know it's Oz. I'll say it that way. You give me that board, I can still bring through the guides and source. Why? Because it's me, the operator. I already have that connection. I can sit down at any board and get the same beings that I communicate with on any board or off the board because of myself and how I fine-tuned myself to that energy. I match that frequency. So for me, but that's a lot of years. I've been using the board 51 years, 51 and a half years, actually, to be exact. So that's a lot of years of using this tool where I've been able to perfect myself in terms of channeling. Not everybody can do that. So I'm with you, Shawn. I say, always ground yourself. And my grounding rituals is a form of protection because I feel like if I can get centered and get the light within me opening up in my heart and brain and connected, and then opening to the higher octaves, that's what I do in Ground into the Earth. And it allows me to become the vessel, the channel to bring forth the messages. But that's how I do it, to perfect, to ground, to protect, and to do my work. And so that's why I get on any board, and I have boards all over my house, and nothing ever happens. Because except for good things, I mean, nothing weird happens because they're just a symbol of my ability to channel to me. And that's what they've become for me. And so I'm not afraid of any board. In fact, I love all boards. I love all boards. And I have such a variety of them.
Well, let me throw that at you. I mean, I know it's big business, and I know a lot of collectors that got hundreds of them. Have you
Oh yeah,
gone
hundreds.
through that phase where you were just felt so addictive, and every time you saw one that was really cool, you just had to have it?
That's right. That's right. And so there was a time, it might have been about 20 years ago, I wanted boards that were just kind of not taken care of. Like you said, you rescue crucifixes, right? I would see boards that were used as cutting boards or chipped or they weren't taken care of, and they're beautiful. They have a story to tell, you know? This one was used to do sewing on it. They used that real rickrack machine that would mark out pattern, the pattern machine, or they would cut with knives or put coasters for their drinks. And so I have some of those boards in my collection because I think there's a story there. And then I have some real pristine boards. And one of my 1892 boards is it's made out of wood slats with the backboard to them, and it's the varnish on has bubbled over the years, so it turned this dark color. It's gorgeous, cherry color with bubbles on it because of the varnish that's bubbled up, and it's beautiful. So yeah, I mean, the boards are so different, and many of us collect them because of just the variations within them. And I know other people too who like to collect boards that are kind of messed up. And we also collect boxes because the boxes have changed over the years as the symbols have changed. Even on the
Oh
Ouija board,
yeah,
these symbols have
yeah.
changed. Hmm.
That's right. I forgot about that. When are you
That's
gonna
right.
get your When are you gonna get your talking board tattoo?
Oh, I won't. That's not for me. But all of my collector friends, they all have their talking board tattoos.
Okay, this is an obvious question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. You mentioned source, and you and I have talked about this
Hmm.
before. But I know there's some people out there that might find this very interesting. What is this source to you that you
Hmm.
channel? And um, I know Annette mentioned this in the green room beforehand too. As long as we're talking source, do you have an opinion on the drone situation that they don't seem to
Hmm.
have an explanation for or don't want to come clean with us about?
Yeah. Well, let's talk source first. So to me, source is all that is. It is the prime factor. It is the great matrix that we're all connected. I feel like we all have a spark or source, God. We all have that spark within us. And so we're an extension of that main source with a capital S energy. We're an extension. That spark is lit within us. And if we can tap into that spark, we have an opportunity to see the spark in others, to tap into the spark of others. It's like that saying, Namaste, I celebrate the place in you where we are one. That's kind of a rough translation of it. And so when you can channel and find my higher self, my source, small s, of the big S, if I can tap into my small s, which is connected to the big S, then I have this at my fingertips, at my heart. I have the ability to tap into all that is. And I was just on another show just 2 days ago talking about, it was Coast to Coast. And I was talking about how we have an ability to tap into the consciousness of all that is because we're all connected to that. We're all created from that energy, from that matrix. And that is how we channel. We channel because we're we're reaching into and pulling, extracting the information and allowing it to come through us of that consciousness. So that's how you do mediumship, psychic abilities, channeling different spirits. And the guides tell me, they say, we are an extension of source, capital S, like you are. The difference is humanity's forgotten that they are. We never forgot. They've never been born in a body. They've always been ethereal beings, an extension of source. So that's how I see it, Shawn. It's all that is, and the universal energy of all that it contains that we are part of. And I find that my channeling has gotten better and better over the years as I start to remember these premises, and I start to work, not just start to, but in terms of my meditation, start to focus in on that spark within, grow it to attach to the greater spark. It's a very alchemical and hermetic science type of idea that we all have this spark of consciousness of source within us. And I see consciousness and source kind of like the matrix in which source can move. And that's consciousness. That's kind of how I see it.
I
Did you want to say anything else
agree with
about that? Or do we want to talk about the drones?
I think Annette would like to talk about the drones before I have to kick you out of here in a few
I,
I
minutes.
I
know,
would
right?
like to get your opinion on what you think that's all about.
Well, this is what I think. There are things in the sky that are not from this planet.
Right.
100%. 100%. I've had some really interesting experiences. I also have night vision goggles that I've had for about 10 years now. No, seven or 8 years. Anyway, I believe the drones right now are ours. I believe it's psyops. I think there's several reasons why they're there. I think they're searching, they're looking. I think also there's a little fear factor there, but I believe it's ours. I believe it's definitely human based, human made. Having said that, there are other things in the sky too
Right.
that are not terrestrial, that are extraterrestrial.
And the bad thing too is that the government never really tells us. So, I mean, there's
That's
still
true.
people waiting for disclosure that one day that they're going to say, but it's been
I come
going
from a
on.
military family. I will say this. The government's kind of making us look like we're a weak military. The reality is we are the strongest military in the world, and we have the most advanced technology. And when they tell you otherwise, I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
Yeah, we're the whole political thing is the greatest, longest running, most popular soap opera known to man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There it is. That's
Yeah.
it.
And if you just allow yourself to get sucked in and get too, I'm guilty. I remember back in the day I was a big Days of Our Lives fan, and you get sucked
Okay.
into
Yeah.
it and then it consumes you and you just can't let that happen.
You can't.
There's hardly anybody watches soap operas anymore because the whole world's a soap opera now.
Oh my God. Yeah. Our lives are soap operas now, right?
Right.
Yeah.
The political
It-
theater is a big soap opera.
Yeah.
well,
It
you
used to be
mentioned Coast to
boring.
Coast, and I love George. I haven't talked to George in a while. I talked to him right after the show came out. I went on the show, but a lot of people don't know
Yeah.
this. He's very devout, a devout Catholic, very religious man.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't know that he's a good guy. I'm gonna have to go there and find your show. I didn't know you were recently on there.
Yeah, it was on Wednesday. It
And
was Wednesday night. The second half of the show. For here, I'm in Arizona right now. It was 1 in the morning till 3. It kills you, but it's fun to do.
yeah, it does. But it's fun. Is
It's
there
fun.
anything you would like to make sure everybody knows about you or about anything before I kick you out of here?
Okay, yeah. So anyway, thank you both for having me. It's been a pleasure working with you today, Annette, and always, Shawn. I enjoy talking with you as well. Thanks again. I want everybody just to remember that you are such an incredible being, a powerful being. If you can tap that spark within you, you will empower yourself in ways that are undescribable and will take you into some great places. I just can't help but say I urge you to really learn to tap your spark. You can find me at KarenADahlman.com, my website, Karen A. Dahlman everywhere. Instagram, YouTube, website, tbhs.org. You want to learn more about our Talking Board Historical Society, you'll find me on there as well. Thank you guys again. And everybody that joined us, thank you for sharing your time with us today. And by the way, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you both.
You and I are already psychically connected right there because I was just about to say that. Wish
I
you
knew it.
very, a very merry and blessed Christmas. I see you all the time attending events, speaking at events. Any events you got coming up here before the year ends or
No,
first part of next
you're
year?
my last show, and I'm taking a break. You're my last show, and I'm gonna take a break. And look at the light coming in now. Sorry, you guys.
That's all right. That's okay.
Yeah. So that's what's happening. My window's right here, and it's coming. Yeah. So I'm taking a break, and then I'll start up again in the new year.
Karen, you know I love you and respect you. I always pray for you,
Back at you.
and I'll throw some dates at you and get you back probably in the spring. Anything you'd like to say to her before we kick her out of here, Annette?
I just really enjoyed talking with you today and so glad I got the chance to meet with you. And we've gotten just a lot of good, interesting feedback. And here's Michelle saying great information today.
Great.
And I hope you come back soon because it was really, really fun.
I would love
Really.
to. We have so much more to discuss. We didn't even scratch the surface, you guys. So
It's the
No.
fastest hour of the week.
no kidding. My God, I'm out of here. They're kicking me out, you guys.
You have a wonderful remainder to your Friday evening. Merry Christmas, and I'll be talking to
Merry
you soon.
Christmas.
All right. Bye, you guys.
Bye-bye, Karen. Karen A. Dahlman. Yeah, she's very, very cool.
That was so interesting.
You know what I want to do before two things. I have people, if I miss the prayer urn more than a couple of weeks back to back, I hear from people about it. And I've also been hearing from people about the joke. Oh, did you decide to scrap the weekly joke? So let's get actually, you know what I did forget today?
What'd you forget?
I forgot the mail bag. I'm going to say whatever's in there now. And I've been in there earlier today and reached out to some people and answered their questions for them. I'll save that for next week's show, which will be, oh, you're going to love, I was just looking at this and saying Annetta's going to love her.
And that is
Next Friday, December 27th, she's an award-winning actress in Los Angeles. She is a lifelong UFO experiencer. She used to be a writer for UFO magazine. You're going to love her. Camille James Harmon will be here next Friday.
sweet.
Let me grab. I'll save the mailbag, but let's do a joke for all those guys out there that want to make sure I didn't get rid of the joke. I didn't get rid of the joke. I just ran out of time. Okay. And this is probably what I'll tell you after the joke why I'm laughing. What do sea monsters eat?
What do sea monsters eat?
Fish and chips.
Fish and chips.
But it's spelled ships. Fish and chips.
Oh,
It would have
okay.
been better if I had given the punchline good. And why I'm laughing is because that's probably what Sharon's going to bring home for me for lunch today, because I don't eat meat on Fridays. Everybody always says, isn't that just a Lent thing? I picked that up from my mom when I was very young. She never ate meat.
When
She
we
never
were
told.
younger, it was not to eat meat on Fridays, all Fridays. I mean, I don't think it was still a rule, but although older people did that, like my grandmas were like that. But was it something that changed with like Vatican II or something where it turned into just being Lent or something, because there was some line where they made it into only during Lent?
That's a good question, and you would think an ordained Catholic priest would know that answer. I don't know it. I'm going to research that though. But I never. I took after my mother passed away. May she rest in peace. I picked that up. I used to only not eat meat during Lent, but now I picked that up, and I never eat meat on Friday in honor of her. But in fact, I'm going to pull another joke since I blew the punchline on the last one.
Fish and chips.
What did the cucumber say to the pickle?
What did the cucumber say to the pickle?
You mean a great deal to me.
Oh, God.
Let me check
Oh,
the prayer urn here real quick, because I'm going to get hate mail that I didn't check the prayer urn. And that's only a few left in there too, because I've been in there a lot recently, reaching out to people and praying with them. This is from Peggy L in Arizona. Arizona, that's where Karen's at.
hey, Peggy.
Meant to be. I live near an old church with a cemetery. I see spirits there. My feeling is they are lost souls. Can you pray for all the lost souls? That is a beautiful, beautiful request, Peggy. Of course I will. They're
You
not
know
lost.
something?
They know where to go. It's just they're not ready to go yet. They're not so much lost as it is. They're just dealing with what has happened and unfinished business, and eventually they'll go. Sometimes they need a little help.
Something that I've been doing for years is every time I go by a cemetery, I say a prayer for all the souls there. Um, so I think that that's a good and nice thing to do, to just acknowledge for a minute, all of the souls that are there.
Okay, this is a good one. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. God, your Father, our Father, your power brings us to birth. Your providence guides our lives, and by your command we return to dust. I pray for the dead. May those who have been dear to me in life find a place with you in heaven. Lord, those who die still live in your presence. Their lives change but do not end. I pray and hope for my family, relatives, and friends, and for all the dead known to you alone. In company with Christ, who died and now lives, may they rejoice in your kingdom where all our tears are wiped away. Unite us together again as one family to sing your praise forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, Annette, I love you and respect you too. I hope you Merry Christmas. Have a great remainder to your
Thank
Friday
you.
evening and your
Merry
weekend and a
Christmas.
wonderful Christmas. And I love your bracelet.
I'm glad.
I'll see you soon.
I will talk to you soon.
Good night.
Good night.
Annette Munich, Stellium Books. Alrighty. I'll leave you guys with, once again, I want to give a big shout out and a thank you to United Public Radio Network, UPRN 107.7 FM New Orleans and 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast. Thank you to Joe Montaldo and Michelle DeRoche for making that happen and picking up my show. God bless you guys for that. And God bless each and every one of you for tuning in, because I don't have a show without you guys. And I mean that. I honestly mean that. That's from the heart. Um, what else do I want to say to you guys? I'm easy to find. If there's anything you want to say to me or ask me or talk to me about, reach out to me. I'm easy to find. You can find me. In fact, I'm on Facebook. My main profile is Lawrence Morace. Lawrence Morace, Morace. You can find me at Lawrence Morace. That's an old stage name that I still use. My father's first name was Lawrence. My mother's maiden name was Morace. So as a tribute to them, I use that name. And it's an official stage name that I had attached to me many, many years ago when I was going to do another reality TV show about demonic possession and exorcism. And at the time, exorcists were being targeted by cults. So the network, the Lifetime channel, wanted us to all use uh, stage names. And then I had my official stage name created for that purpose. I promise next week when we have Camille James Harmon on the 27th here, I won't forget the mailbag. So don't send me hate mail for missing that today. Listen, if any of you want to be a sponsor of the show, reach out to uprntalkradio.com. Tell them you want to be a sponsor and you want to have your brand given a shout out live on my show. And don't go anywhere, because this is the first show of many wonderful shows on what we like to refer to here at UPRN as High Strangeness Fridays. Coming up next is Spirit Switchboard with Carrie Lynn Shellhorn. That's a great show. So, brothers and sisters, what I want you all to mainly remember is just to take a deep breath, relax, have a wonderful and blessed Christmas, and I'll see you all next week. Remember, we may have done what the devil said we did, but we are not who the devil says we are. Good night, Danny. Good night, Jack. Good night, Dog. Good night, Harold. Rest in peace. Good night, Ernie. Good night, Bill. Good night, Dan. I love you all. God bless you all in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Peace.